the most digital Amish you'll ever meet, Lance Yoder.
All right, I'm going to risk a little bit here, and I'm going to maybe, oh, thank you, I appreciate that. I'm going to risk a little bit here, and I might just offend you. I've offended a lot of people by saying this, but I'm going to say that you should have a blog, okay? And I've gotten some pretty funny looks when I've said that to teachers in the past several years. I'm going to kind of go back in time a little bit, but when I was teaching, I had a class website, and I really worked hard to communicate to parents and engage them and try and get them feeling like they're really part of my class. And I had this thing called Microsoft SharePoint, and it was like version 2007. But it was what I was given, and it was the only thing I was allowed to use. And if you've ever used Microsoft SharePoint, you know how painful it is to use. The problem is that what I really needed it to do was share my story. What I was doing was I would put things on it, I would take things off, I'd put pictures, videos, I would write about the awesome things happening in class, at least, well, I thought it was awesome. But I would share those things, and the kids were really engaged, but it was gone. It was like a vapor, it was a puff of smoke. I had nothing there anymore. As soon as I would change it, that information was gone. So I said to teachers a few years ago, I said, hey, what is it that you really want in a teacher website? Because SharePoint wasn't cutting it. And I said, okay, they wanted to, number one, have something easy to use. That was most important. And number two, they wanted something that parents could actually look at. Okay, so I'm going to talk about several reasons why you should consider having a blog. Number one, is to be informative. Two, is to share your story. And number three, the reason is so that way you have a place to reflect. So I'm going to talk about being informative first. A blog is a great format for being informative because it's chronological. You share, and then you share some more, and those things just gradually shift down. And you get the opportunity to tell what's happening in your classroom, except it's always there. It's like having your newsletter constantly shifting down and being able to add on to that newsletter, except parents might actually read it. I think about the newsletters that I made, and I used to even, to try and get parents to read it, I would put Easter eggs in my newsletters, and I would say, okay, if you are reading this, sign your name on the back, turn it back in, and your kid gets a candy bar. How many would I get back? Maybe one. I'd be lucky if I got that. But once I started really working on my website, things changed. I'm also going to talk about why it's important to be a sharer. As far as when you share, you can share with your parents, you can share with your students, but it also allows you to share with your colleagues. It's very important that your colleagues have a chance to see and get a glimpse of what's happening in your classroom. If they can see that, that creates collaboration, creates that opportunity to discuss. Number two, you need to be the person sharing your story. I've taught in small communities, and a lot of people talk. There's a lot of fiction out there, isn't there? If you're the person telling the story, then it's coming straight from you. Not only that, but what if, not only you telling the story, what if your students told the story? What if you allowed them to do the writing and share the things that are happening in your classroom, the projects that you are doing, but it comes from them, it comes from their voice. In a sense, it really does need to come from eyewitnesses. Your parents, the community, your students need to know that the learning taking place in your classroom is serious business. There isn't any horsing around going on. You need to share that your kids are enjoying school and they're learning at the same time. Third thing you need to consider when having a blog is that it's an opportunity to refine your craft. Okay? I think about my previous years teaching, those things are gone. But I think back to the last 5 years that I've been a technology coach or a technology coordinator, and I have a record over the last several years of what I've been doing, lessons that I did with teachers, technology tools that I recommended to them, and I can share those things. I have that record. It's much like Dumbledore's pensieve. If you think about it, how many of you would rely on your memory year after year to help you plan accurately? I think about how much I actually remember. Those of you that know me best know you can't rely on my memory. So I think about the opportunity that I have to pull that idea out, put it on a blog, and it's there for years to come, and I can refine and improve. It's much like keeping a diary, except it's just public. What things do you share? You share what you're passionate about. This is a great job. It's probably the best in the world. And it's your opportunity to share the things that you're passionate about, and that's teaching kids. That's work with trying to change change the world with enhancing their mind. So, to recap, you need a blog to be informative, to share your story, and not only that, but to refine your craft, be reflective. Okay, so blog is a 4-letter word, but so is food. I'm going to close with that because I want you to view blogging the same way we do food. I know it won't compare, but it's the best I can do. And this is me when I'm leaving the teacher's lounge and there's donuts. And those of you that know me know this to be true.